Le Cameroun a obtenu via ses partenaires 1,6 million de doses de vaccins antipaludéens pour une introduction dans la routine en janvier 2024. L'annonce vient du ministre de la Santé publique camerounaise, Manaouda Malachi. Dans un tweet, il a fait savoir que la livraison de ces doses est prévue pour le mois de décembre 2023. L'Organisation mondiale de la santé, OMS, a recommandé un nouveau vaccin R21 Matrix M pour prévenir le paludisme chez les enfants. Le R21 est le deuxième vaccin antipaludéen approuvé par l'OMS. D'après l'Organisation mondiale de la santé, l'ajout du R21 à la liste des vaccins antipaludéens recommandés devrait se traduire par une offre suffisante de vaccins au profit des enfants vivant dans des zones où le paludisme est un risque pour la santé publique. Au Cameroun, le vaccin contre le paludisme va officiellement être introduit dans le programme élargi de vaccination en 2024. Pour un début, son déploiement ne concernera que quelques districts de santé. D'abord, ceux qui enregistrent le plus grand nombre de décès par rapport au nombre de cas. La première dose de ce vaccin sera administrée aux enfants ayant l'âge de 6 mois, la deuxième à ceux de 7 mois et la troisième dose à ceux de 9 mois. Il s'agit là de la série primaire. Le rappel pour renforcer l'efficacité s'administre à 18 mois de vie, expliquait Dr Shalom Tchokfe Ndoula, secrétaire permanent du programme élargi de vaccination sur le site Actu Cameroun. Le Cameroun fait partie des 15 pays les plus touchés par la malaria avec 2,9% de cas de paludisme et 2,4% de décès dans le monde en 2020. Cela fait du Cameroun le troisième pays le plus touché d'Afrique centrale avec un total de 12,6% de cas en 2020. Selon le Programme national de lutte contre le paludisme, PNLP, plus de 3 millions de cas de paludisme ont été enregistrés au Cameroun en 2022. Il précise également que 3 327 381 cas de paludisme ont été observés avec 2 481 décès l'an dernier au Cameroun. Le ministre du Commerce, Luc Marguin-Barga-Tangana, et l'ambassadeur de Russie au Cameroun, Anatoly Baskin, ont remis sur la table lors d'une audience au cours du mois de septembre 2023 le projet de création d'une bourse du café qui servirait de trait d'union entre Yaoundé et Moscou. Il s'agit d'une plateforme de commercialisation du café qui constituera un lieu de rencontre entre les producteurs camerounais et les acheteurs russes. Toutefois, le ministre du Commerce Luc Marguin-Barga-Tangana ne précise pas s'il s'agira d'une plateforme physique ou numérique. L'idée de création d'une bourse de café avait été émise par les opérateurs économiques camerounais et la Chambre de commerce de Moscou lors des premières journées économiques camerounaises qui se sont tenues du 19 au 23 octobre 2016 dans la capitale russe. L'année suivante, le ministère du Commerce listait ce projet parmi les activités à soutenir par son département ministériel en 2017. Mais plus rien n'a été dit jusqu'à ce que celui-ci soit ressuscité lors d'une audience que Luc Marguin-Barga-Tangana a accordée aux diplomates russes durant le mois de septembre 2023. Selon le ministre du Commerce du Cameroun, cette bourse du café viendra renforcer la coopération commerciale entre les deux pays et permettra de promouvoir le Cameroun comme destination privilégiée pour les investissements russes, au moment où le pays manifeste l'envie de densifier la coopération économique et commerciale avec la Russie. La Fédération de la Russie présente 6 à 7% des parts du marché avec le Cameroun pour un volume en termes d'exportation assez faible autour de 96 milliards de francs CFA. La situation s'est plutôt dégradée depuis le déclenchement de la guerre avec l'Ukraine en février 2022, plus au détriment de la Russie que du Cameroun, puisqu'au cours des 2 dernières années, les exportations se sont améliorées. Elles ont été multipliées par 16 alors que les importations en provenance de la Russie ont régressé, déclarait Luc Marguin-Barga-Tangana au lendemain de la tenue du 2e sommet Russie-Afrique de juillet dernier. D'après les données de l'Office national du cacao et du café, le Cameroun a exporté 11 557 tonnes de café lors de la campagne caféière 2021-2022.
Les jeunes sont une nouvelle fois au cœur des politiques gouvernementales. Dans un contexte marqué par des multiples dangers qui guettent la jeunesse, les autorités travaillent à les impliquer un peu plus dans le fonctionnement des institutions et le développement du Cameroun. Un idéal qui a modifié la signature d'une convention de partenariat entre l'Agence de service civil national de participation au développement et l'Agence de promotion des petites et moyennes entreprises. L'accord, signé le mercredi 4 octobre à Yaoundé, vise à établir un programme de collaboration qui se veut un cadre fédérateur des capacités des deux organisations, dans l'optique de tendre vers une république exemplaire en matière d'engagement de la jeunesse et aux valeurs morales. Concrètement, l'Agence de service civil d'engagement a créé une plateforme d'échange entre les bénéficiaires du programme de l'esprit d'entreprise en milieu jeune et les volontaires, prendre en charge les frais de transport des jeunes retenus ou encore échanger des informations, des expériences et des modèles en vue de contribuer à l'amélioration et la gestion des affaires locales. La PME, pour sa part, va jouer sa contribution en assistant les jeunes porteurs d'idées pour la création de leurs entreprises. Il est également question de renforcer leurs capacités pour la maturation de leurs projets, ainsi que les compétences managériales et technologiques en matière de gestion des ressources humaines. Le partenariat ainsi officialisé constitue un cadre idoine de mutualisation des compétences dont la mission fondamentale est la mise en œuvre des politiques gouvernementales d'encadrement et d'insertion des jeunes dans un circuit social et économique.
Thunderclap sounded in N'Djamena on Thursday, October 5, 2023, when an international arrest warrant for one of the Chadian's opposition figures, Succès Masra, the president of the movement, Les Transformateurs, was leaked on social media, accused of having incited Southern Chadians to hatred and revolt in his speech to the nation sent via Facebook in May 2023. Succès Masra's supporters were eagerly preparing to welcome him back to N'Djamena on October 18 after a year in exile since the deadly crackdown on October 20, 2022 demonstrations. But surprisingly, in less than 2 weeks before his return, an international arrest warrant has been leaked, issued since June 8, 2023 by Mahamat El Haj Aban Nana, the public prosecutor at the N'Djamena Court of Appeal, to be disseminated to host countries like France, Germany, South Africa, Belgium, USA, Canada, Ivory Coast, Togo, Burkina Faso, Congo-Brazzaville, Democratic Republic of Congo, Central African Republic, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Rwanda, Burundi, Turkey, Ethiopia, Morocco, and Egypt. He thereby gave a clear indication that the opposition figure is accused of attempting to undermine the constitutional order, undermining the authority of the state, inciting hatred and an insurrectionary uprising, undermining the integrity of the national territory, and undermining the institutions of the state, and could be arrested on his return to the country, which is expected in less than 2 weeks' time. Followed by the death of Idris Deby in April 20, 2021, his son Mahamat Deby Isno took over at the head of a National Transitional Council. Succès Masra took part in the demonstrations against the Transitional Military Council at the end of April 2021, which were heavily repressed. His movement advocated for a social and democratic ideology based on democracy, the social market economy, equity, humanity, and diversity. Following these demonstrations, Mahamat Deby announced the holding of an inclusive national dialogue. The conditions laid down by Succès Masra were the revision of the Transitional Charter, the inclusion of an ineligibility clause for the leaders of the current transition, and the setting up of another committee to organize this dialogue.
Depuis ses premières éditions, la Journée mondiale des enseignants au Cameroun a généralement été marquée par des défilés et des cérémonies à l'honneur des héros de l'éducation. La situation est bien différente en cette 30e édition de 2023. Ceci est dû à la grève des enseignants lancée en février 2022 et renouvelée en septembre 2023. Ces enseignants ont au préalable soumis une liste de demandes au gouvernement et considèrent n'avoir pas été satisfaits à ce jour. À cet effet, l'intersyndicale de l'éducation a signé un mot d'ordre de grève ce 4 octobre 2023, appelant les élèves et les enseignants à rester à la maison du lundi 9 octobre au vendredi 13 octobre 2023. Chez WafricaTV, nous avons demandé l'avis de quelques Camerounais dans la rue.
Dans l'ensemble, même quand on voit le traitement des fonctionnaires au Cameroun, il est très mauvais. Ne serait-ce qu'en comparant aux autres pays. Donc, la grève est une action légitime d'un travailleur qui a des problèmes avec son employeur et qui n'a pas été compris.
Sans balayer les demandes des enseignants, certains Camerounais pensent que les causes de la grève n'ont pas été assez justifiées.
Pour le cas précis des enseignants, là où je ne partage pas de manière totale leur position, c'est que lorsqu'ils revendiquent, ils établissent des parallèles avec d'autres corps. Ça ne donne pas. Et lorsque on voit les enseignants qui sont en pleine grève, ils sont essentiellement des fonctionnaires. Les fonctionnaires doivent se considérer comme fonctionnaires. Et leur revendication, effectivement, doit se reposer sur le cas des fonctionnaires et non sur tel qui est mieux que dans l'autre corps. Maintenant, s'ils veulent nous convaincre, je ne sais pas qui passe par le genre de ce qu'on dit, le fonctionnaire des impôts, marche en voiture, le fonctionnaire des magistrats a construit un chalet, le douanier a construit un chalet, le sous-préfet, le commissaire. Bon, en vérité, si c'est par là qu'ils passent, ils tombent dans un piège. Et maintenant, j'aimerais plutôt qu'ils nous mettent à table les salaires réels versés aux fonctionnaires. Est-ce que les leurs sont plus petits que les gens de même grade, je veux dire de même position ailleurs? Bon, à ce moment, je crois que c'est logique, effectivement, c'est logique qu'on harmonise. Alors, s'ils n'arrivent pas à convaincre à ce niveau-là, ils auront des problèmes sérieux pour que leur négociation aboutisse. Et ça, c'est un très grand conseil que moi je donne, étant parent, à la journée des enseignants.
D'autres appellent par ailleurs à la considération du sort des élèves au-delà de toute autre chose.
Pour la grève des enseignants, les enseignants, vous allez alors gréver, malgré que tout va mal, avec tout ce qui est cher et tout. C'est bien beau, vous pouvez vous plaindre, mais qu'en est-il des éducations de nos enfants? Aider nos enfants à fréquenter, ça va aller avec le temps, avec tout ce qui va mal, ça va aller.
On peut espérer que la situation s'améliore le plus rapidement possible, car n'oublions pas que l'éducation est la plus grande arme de l'humanité. Les enseignants doivent donc être tenus en haute estime.
Born on August 30, 1992 in Douala, Cameroon, Cedric Doumbé is a Cameroonian-born but French professional mixed martial artist, MMA, and a former kickboxer currently fighting in the welterweight division of the Professional Fighters League, PFL. Doumbé moved to France with his family at the age of 9. He and his sister were raised by their widowed mother at Angoulême, as their father died in a car accident around the time he was born. In his late teens, Cedric discovered full contact kickboxing and started training. He studied psychology but dropped out of the university to pursue a career in kickboxing. In his kickboxing career, between the years 2015 and 2016, Cedric Doumbé went to Amsterdam every month to train at Mejiro Gym, where he completed his style, originally coming from full contact. Prior to fighting in Glory Kickboxing, he became a 3-time A1 World Combat Cup champion, a 1-time finalist, a World Kickboxing Association Europe and World champion, and a WACO Pro World K1 Rules champion. He was also a 2016 Liverpool Fighter of the Year. Debuting at Glory 22, he lost to Yohan Kongolo before rebounding with a victory over Dutch standout Mortel Gronhardt at Glory 28. After this, he registered 8 regional wins before going on to fight for the Glory Welterweight Championship, earning a split decision over renowned Dutch striker Nicky Holzken at the Glory Collusion event. He then went on to avenge his earlier loss to Yohan Kongolo before earning a second split decision victory over Nicky Holzken. Though he lost his title to Mortel Gronhardt in a rematch at Glory 44 via split decision, he later became Glory champion for a second time when he defeated Harut Grigorian at Glory 64 via 3 knockdowns. He defended his title twice before winning an important bout against Mortel Gronhardt in their Trigology fight and grudge match at Glory 77, finishing Gronhardt with a right hook. Doumbé announced at an Empire Fight event in France on October 3, 2021 that he is training for a switch to MMA. He also said his kickboxing career is over He finishes his kickboxing career with a record of 75 wins and 7 losses with 45 wins by stoppage, and a glory kickboxing record of 12 wins and 3 losses, but would avenge all 3 of his losses within that promotion. But on September 30, 2023, he made his PFL debut in the main event against Jordan Zebo at PFL Europe. He won the fight by knockout just 9 seconds into the first round. The 31-year-old king of entertainment admitted that he will fight anyone next. Good morning, televiewers, and thanks for joining us on WafricaTV. As we all know, the 19th June is the World Awareness Day for Sickle Cell, and today we are going to receive our guest who is going to enlighten us more on this. But before we continue, let's take this presentation. Sickle cell disease is one of the most common genetic causes of illness and death in the world. Recognized as a public health issue by the United Nations General Assembly in 2008, sickle cell disease was one of the earliest identified genetic disorders. Welcome back on stage. As I earlier said, we are receiving our guest, and our guest today is a clinical biologist entitled, he is called Mr. Samuel Shadrack. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kesia.
We are happy to have you today.
I am happy as well to be here with you.
Okay, concerning the World Sickle Cell Awareness Day, as you are a clinical biologist, can you give us the scientific definition of a sickle cell disease?
Okay, the sickle cell disease is a group of complications that happen as the result of the altering of the shape of a red blood cell. And normally a red blood cell is round, if I should say that. But when someone has sickle cell, his red blood cells become crescent. So when this happens, it creates a number of complications.
Okay, and concerning the sickle cell, what are the causes of the sickle cell? What causes a child to be a sickle cell?
Now, one thing we need to understand is this is an autosomal recessive disease. That's a disease due to the fact that a child inherited a muted gene from the parents.
One of the parents or the two
yes,
parents?
or both.
Okay, from both parents.
Both of the parents, yes.
Okay, then concerning this illness, what can you tell us about the fact that the sickness is so-called to be a disease for Africans? Let me put it that way.
Now, some research proposed that sickle cell is as a result of a mutation that occurred because, you know, in Africa, malaria is endemic, and the body tried to counteract this. So it is believed that this is why in Africa we have this disease. So it was a mechanism that the body put in place to fight against malaria. This is what some research proposed.
Then as for you, how far do you see it to be?
I think it's the most satisfactory scientific answer to this, but it is always important to know that anybody can have sickle cell, even if you're from the Western world or you're from you're an Arab.
Any part of the world.
Yes, you can have it, but it is mostly like the prevalence in Africa is high because this research proposed that it was a way to combat malaria, but unfortunately it comes with a lot of
we Africans, with our own superstitions, we thought it was because of our skin tone, because we are black, that's why the disease mostly takes us. So thanks for telling us that that's not the fact. Concerning the tips, how can you advise everyone concerning this disease so that in case we should not contact this disease?
Okay, I will start by telling you again or reminding you how you can get sickle cell. So you don't have unprotected sex and then you have sickle cell disease, or you eat contaminated food. No, it is as a result of the transmission of two muted genes from your parents. Okay, and for this to happen, there should be codominance of the recessive gene. Codominance of the recessive genes means that you have the S and the S as your hemoglobin genes. And when this happens, you manifest the disease. So for you to avoid this situation, it is making sure that you know what is your hemoglobin profile, and you know the hemoglobin profile of your spouse or wife or husband. As such, you will be able to know if your children have chances of getting sickle cell disease.
If they'll be carriers or not.
Yeah, so if they could be carriers. Now, sickle cell disease itself has a lot of pathophysiologies. That's, you know, the different complications and crises are so diverse. That is why we call it sickle cell disease. You will have sickle cell anemia. Of course, remember that the red blood cell is used in the body for oxygen transportation, right? So if you have a red blood cell that is not able to transport oxygen, what will happen? You will not have enough oxygen in your body, right? And that's what we call anemia. Now, apart from anemia, remember that the shape of these red blood cells are sickled, right? You know what's a sickle?
Yeah.
A sickle is a tool that is used in agriculture to harvest plants. It looks like a crescent moon. Now, when these red blood cells have this shape, they become much more sticky, and they cannot squeeze in between. Pardon?
Squeeze in the banana form.
No, they cannot squeeze in between vessels, and they agglutinate and stick. And when they agglutinate and stick, they cause what we call vaso-occlusions. And this vaso-occlusion, imagine if it happens in your brain, you will have a stroke. You know what's a stroke, right?
No, a stroke, yeah.
Okay.
Even though we say most people who have strokes are old people.
Yes.
We always say old people have strokes.
Yes, being old is a predisposition to that, but also being a sickle cell patient is also a predisposition to that, because your red blood cells will agglutinate and prevent blood from like the flow of it, and then you will have a number of complications. So to avoid that, make sure you know your hemoglobin profile and that of your companion.
Okay, thank you. Concerning SCT, which is sickle cell trait, and SCD, which is sickle cell disease, can you enlighten us on the difference? Okay,
now the normal, remember that sickle cell is as a result of a mutation, right, on the hemoglobin. Now, hemoglobin is a protein found in the red blood cells that is responsible for carrying oxygen. Now, when this mutation occurs, right, you have now a muted gene that we will indicate here as S. So the normal gene is A, and the muted gene is S. Now, the sickle cell trait is when you have a normal hemoglobin gene and a sickle cell gene. That's AS. We talk of sickle cell trait. That's, you have the trait, you have the allele. I will not make a science class here, but just remember that a gene is expressed as two alleles, okay? Two alleles. So for this gene, the sickle cell gene, to express itself, it needs to be two of them, if I should make it as simple as possible. So now, if you are a carrier, a healthy carrier, or if you have the sickle cell trait, you will have a normal hemoglobin, which is the hemoglobin A, and the sickle hemoglobin, which is the hemoglobin S. Thank you. That's wonderful.
Thank you so much for the class. Thank you so much for the class. One last question I would like to ask concerning the campaign. We heard you organize campaign some days back concerning the electrophoresis. Yeah, people were coming out to carry out tests. We want to know your satisfaction about this campaign you carried out.
Okay, now this initiative was put in place by the Cameroun Association for Molecular Biology and Biotechnology Initiatives, and our objective here was to help young people between 18 and 46 years, that's the reproductive age, to know their hemoglobin status. Remember, if you know that you are AA or you are AS, you know the type of spouse you can have. Yes, if you are AA, you can have a spouse who is AS. Now you will have just healthy carriers as children. But if you are AS and your spouse is AS, you have chances to have a child who will suffer from sickle cell. So our aim with this campaign was actually to make sure that people within this age range will know their hemoglobin profile. As such, will help avoid having
Going
children
with a spouse that
yes.
is so
We are satisfied by our efforts, the volunteers, the venue and everything, but we believe that there is still much more that has to be done with regards to this disease. The Ministry of Public Health, you and I, the different communities, we need to come together for us to fight against these diseases, okay, with regards to how we can prevent it, with regards to how it can be managed, and with regards to the stigma that roams around this disease.
Thank you so much for this, I will say, lesson, because we learned a lot with all what we've heard today. And thank you, televiewers, for being attentive. Thank you for receiving us today, Mr. Shadrach Samuel. We are sorry this is the end of our interview, and thank you for accepting our request.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. I'm very happy to have been here, and I would just want to send a message like this to all those out there who have not yet done their electrophoresis of hemoglobin. Please endeavor to do that, because by doing so, you know your status and you can avoid, you know, that situation where you have a child suffering from sickle cell. Today, close to 150 participants to our campaign. We believe that this platform is also standing to fight against sickle cell disease.
As we all heard, we should go in for a hemoglobin electrophoresis in order to know our genotype. Televiewers, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you give us a thumbs up. Meet you again in our next edition. Bye-bye.